Hello again, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the International Agenda presented by The BJ Show. It is your late July, early August edition of the International Agenda, hosted by Aiden Barry, and on the show tonight we have coverage of the Women's Euro Final. We have a recap of the first four tests between England and India. We have some news from the golf world with the Open Championship at Royal Portrush completing over the weekend, and we also have a look at the 2025 Major League Baseball Hall of Fame class. So let's get straight into today's program. We begin this episode of the International Agenda with a special look at the Women's Euro Final for 2025. Game looked very much even throughout the whole contest. This whole tournament, in fact, was very even. A lot of very, very close games. A lot of games going to extra time. A lot of games going to penalties as well. It was the Lionesses who came out as champions in the end. We're going to go through the final as it's the Lionesses versus Spain from St. Jacobs Park in Basel. Final score in this one after extra time was 1-1. Goals scored for both sides in a very, very tight game. First, Spain. Caldente gets a goal, gets their one goal for the game, 25-minute mark in the game. Spain just had that early dominance, took that chance, got their goal, and then 57 minutes in, so 12 minutes after the break, Russo comes back, scores for England. It is going 1-1 at the end of regulation, and then it was still not enough in the extra half hour. So this game, it goes to penalties. As I said, many other games in this Women's Euro have gone to penalties, and this has been a very, very exciting Women's Euro. I'm looking forward to upcoming women's tournaments in women's football. Women's Asian Championships going to be in Australia in a while. We'll discuss them later on. Also, Women's World Cup as well. But we go to penalties in this one, and it is England 3, Spain 1 on penalty. So England, Mead missing their first kick. Spain, Guayaro scoring for them. Spain lead 1-0 after the first round of penalties. Greenwood then scores the penalty for England, making it 1-1, and then Caldente misses their penalty. It is 1-1 on penalties after the second round of shooters. Third round of shooters, it's Charles and Bonmati. Charles for England scoring her penalty. England 2-1 up. Bonmati missing theirs as well for Spain. So things are already not looking good. As I said, it was 3-1. In the fourth round of penalties, Williamson for England, Parallelo for Spain, both missing their penalties. And then to seal the deal, Kelly for England, 3-1. England, the Lionesses, your champions, and football is coming home. And on that note, I think that we have to say this England team, these Lionesses, probably going to be one of the top teams at the Women's World Cup when that rolls around. Again, they're very dominant. I think Spain, they played a really good opening stanza, very good opening half hour, but then the Lionesses were able to regroup their momentum and get a little bit more of a foothold in the game, sending it to penalties and then taking advantage from the spot. But Spain, again, very strong team. A lot of very strong teams in this tournament, in this Women's Euro. The Italians played well, the Germans played well as well. So not just the Lionesses and the Spanish who will be dangerous out of Europe in the Women's World Cup, but there's going to be some smaller teams, some risers in that Women's World Cup as well. Obviously, we also got the Matildas. We also have the US women's team. We have teams out of South America, Argentina, Brazil. So the Women's World Cup, Japan women, there's going to be a lot of teams vying for the Women's World Cup when it rolls around, and the Asian Championship as well is going to be a very strong field in that. As I mentioned, the Matildas in Japan, along with many many other nations vying for the AFC Women's Championship that's going to be held here in Australia, and I'm hoping that they are games in Adelaide because I would love to go and see some Women's Asian Championship. I missed out on the Women's World Cup, but we do want to go see some Women's Championship at hopefully it's at Adelaide Oval and not Highmarsh Stadium, but that's a discussion for another day. So in summary here, England, your Women's Euro champions 2025, beating Spain 1-1 after extra time and then 3-1 on penalties. With the Women's Euros completed for this year, we're going to stay with England. We're going to move from the football pitches of Basel and St James's Park to the cricket grounds of England for a test series between England and India that kicks off their campaigns and this 2-year cycle of the World Test Championship for 2025 through 2027.
Dragged on, excellent length, a little bit of movement.
I'll go to that first test of the series at Headingley in Leeds for England and India's first test of the new cycle for the World Test Championship. India with the bat first. It was your big performance here from India with the bat in their first inning. Yashasvi Jaiswal, 101. So a century there. Century for Shubman Gill, 147. Century for Rishabh Pant, 134 in that first innings for India. England's best contributions were 4 wickets for Josh Tongue, 4 wickets for Ben Stokes. India all out in the end for 471. Going into England's first inning, we have a look down the list, some big contributions a little bit lower down. So Ben Duckett makes 62, Ollie Pope 106, and Harry Brook unfortunately out on 99. In this one, England making 465 and just coming up a little short of India's first innings total. Wickets for India, 5 for Bumrah, 3 for Krishna, the standout bowlers. Moving into the second innings in this one. India at the bat again. Second innings, we have big scores. Rahul, 137 for him. Rishabh Pant, 118 for him as they close. A short tail does not last. Dark at the end there in the Indian tail in this one to bring England right close within this game. For the best of the bowlers for England, again, Josh Tongue with 3, Bryden Cass with 3 as well. England now had to chase a score of 373 for the win, and they start very well in that chase. Zach Crawley 65, Ben Duckett 149, Joe Root 53 not out, and then Jamie Smith finishing 44 not out as well as they close that chase down quite comfortably with that win there. They win by 5 wickets in the end for the first test. So we have now had the first test, England leading 1 test to none. Then we go into the second test, played at Edgbaston in Birmingham. This one was a little bit one-sided to say the least. We begin our look at the scorebook from Birmingham. India at the bat again to begin this test. Big scores all around. Jaiswal 87, Ravindra Jadeja 89, and Shubman Gill 269 as India post 587 is as their first innings total. Wickets for India hard to come by. 2 for Chris Wokes, 2 for Josh Tongue, 3 for Shoaib Bashir. India, as I said, posting 587. In England's first inning, they had a real struggle early on, 19, and then duck to get them underway. Joe Root also only made 22. Golden duck as well for Ben Stokes. Harry Brook 158 for him. Jamie Smith 184 not out, saving England's chances there. Their tail also failing to wag. A lot of ducks on that scoreboard for England. The bowlers for India who did the job, 2 of them got wickets. Siraj with 6, Akashdeep with the other 4. England all out for 407. India go back in and they continue from where they left off. 55 for KL Rahul, 161 for Shubman Gill, 65 for Rishabh Pant, 69 for Jadeja. Then very soon after, they make the declaration at 427, 6 down. Wickets for England, hard to come by again. 2 for Tongue, 2 for Bashir are the standout. England now with it all to do in this final inning. They are looking at a score of near 600 to get the win. And it just doesn't happen for them. A lot of low scores, a lot of pressure scores, a lot of players getting starts in the 20s and in the 30s. A stand-up 88 from Jamie Smith, the real bright spark in this innings for England. Wickets 6 here for Akashdeep and then 1s for everybody else. So 1s for Siraj, Krishna, Jadeja and Washington Sundar. As England fail to make the score required, India winning the second test by 336 runs. Going into the third test, it was 1-1. This third test now we take place at Lords in London, and this was a big test. Every test at Lords is a big test. Doesn't matter if you are England or the tourists, you get the opportunity to play at Lords. You have the opportunity to make a name for yourself and get up on the board. England puts their bats out first. They go out to bat and begin this Lords test match. A lot of starts for England, a lot of 40s for England, 44 for Pope, 44 for Stokes, 51 for Jamie Smith, and 104, the big score there for Joe Root, 56 as well for Bryden Cast. So Tail doing a little bit of damage as well. Top bowler for India was, you guessed it, Jasprit Bumrah. England all out for 387. Now India has their reply. Much like England, a lot of starts, a lot of 30s and a lot of 20s. We have some more bigger scores though. We have 74 from Palm, we have a 72 from Jadeja, and we have a 100. So we have 100 for KL Rahul there as well. India's tail not as strong in this as England's. Both teams out for 387 at the end of the first inning. Best bowler for England, Chris Woakes with 3 wickets, Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes 2 each. Going into the second innings, the weather started to turn. It got harder to bat. The ball came alive a bit more, and it was very, very hard to make scores. England in their second innings, no one achieved over a 50. Joe Root got a 40. Ben Stokes got a 33. India looked like they had some control. Wickets for Bumrah 2, wickets for Siraj 2, and then Washington Sundar with 4 for India. They looked like they had it under control here as they move into their second inning. England made a 1-9-2. And then much like England, India had a hard go of it in the second inning. Biggest scores for India here were a 39 from Rahul and a 61 not out from Jadeja, but India are only making 170 runs. Wicket takers here for England, 3 for Archer and 3 for Ben Stokes. England win the third test match, They win their second test match of the series, the third overall, by 22 runs. And now we look ahead to the fourth test match in the series. And this one was a very, very interesting affair, to say the least, from Old Trafford in Manchester. Now, not the football stadium. There's 2 Manchester stadiums called Old Trafford. One is the football ground, one is the cricket ground. So they are both Old Trafford, but they are not the same ground. Anyway, we move on into this test match. India come out to bat first again in this one. No one achieves a century for India, but there are some 50 contributions. 58 for Jaiswal, 61 for Sai Sudharasan, 54 for Rishabh Pant for India in their first innings. They make 358 in the innings. Key performers for England here, Ben Stokes with a 5 for Jofra Archer with 3 himself. Now it's England's turn in this test, and they come out hot and they come out firing a lot of strong scores at the top of the order. 84 for Crawley, 94 for Duckett, 71 for Pope, 150 for Root, 141 for Ben Stokes, another 47 from Bryden Cast. So he's nearly made a 50 and a 40 in this series, pushing that score along. All those big scores, they add up to a 669 39 for England in the first innings, batting through most of the time to really take this match into a timing situation for India when they return. Best bowler for India here, Ravindra Jadeja, 4 wickets, 2 for Washington Sundar, 2 for Jasprit Bumrah. India come out again looking to just try and get close to England's score, possibly force a draw. Jaiswal, and it starts off very, very, very badly for India. Chris Wokes in the first inning getting Jaiswal and Sid Harrison for ducks. Chris Wokes got Jaiswal off 4 balls and Sid Harrison for a golden duck. However, that's where the party stopped for England. KL Rahul makes 90 for India. Then we have Shubman Gill making 103 for the tourists. Then at the end of the day, and this is just something I want to talk about, at the end of the day there was about 15 overs to go. Both teams had pretty much accepted draw. There was no reason to play the final 10 overs. But England, and I caught something interesting when I'm talking about this, caught something interesting over the stump mic saying, England players saying, let's give these boys 100. It's a big thing, especially for Washington Sundar making his maiden test century in England against England in this draw. Well done to him on that maiden test century. 101 not out for him, supported well by Ravindra Jadeja, who made 107. Final 10 overs not bowled after those centuries for the Indians. Match ends in a draw as we head towards the final test, and I'm going to give you a quick preview of that final test as we have now got one last test to play. It will be very, very tight. I can tell you that. It will be back in London. It will be at the Oval. This is a very, very tight test for both teams. There is a short turnaround for both of these sides. I believe it starts on Wednesday or Thursday, the 31st. So yes, so I believe that's Thursday this test starts. It's going to be, as I said, a short turnaround. It's at the Oval in London. Now, England with a win or a draw will win the series 2-1. So India will be playing for a win to tie the series at 2-2 with one draw. I feel like at the Oval in London, I feel like that's England's place. I think that England will play that ground a lot better than India, and I think that it will be won by England. I think England, depending on the weather, I think it could be a close affair. I don't think there's going to be lots of high scores. I think there's going to be a couple of players that stand out and make the difference for England, and that's going to be the real difference in this test match. So this 5th test match, I'm going to call for England. It's going to be close. I'm going to say that India win the toss, put England into bat and bowl first, and England will then win by, say, 50 runs or so. I think that's how close it's going to be. But I think 50 runs gives a good edge to England and still giving India credit for their efforts. So that is a look at the first 4 tests between India and England, as well as a look ahead to the final test of the series. We're going to stay in the United Kingdom now, and we're going to have a look at the Open Championship that happened over one of the weekends between episodes here on the international agenda. This year's Open Championship happened at the Dunluce course of Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland over the weekend, the 17th to the 20th of July 2025. I am proud to announce that the champion golfer of the year for 2025 is Scott Scheffler of the United States. Scott Scheffler is your winner of the 2025 Open Championship, winning by 4 strokes. I'm going to go down the running order a little bit and pick out some names who I thought performed well as we go down. So our top 5, we had Scott Scheffler, we had Harris English, and we had Goddard as well in 3rd. So English minus 13, Goddard minus 12. Then someone who I thought really outperformed expectations was Li of China, a player who is gaining some waves on the Asian Tour and through the European Tour. Didn't really expect to make a big splash here, but does and gets some great reward for his efforts. Matthew Fitzpatrick also at 11 under. Wyndham Clark also at 11 under. Xander Schauffele leads the group, tied 7th at 10 under with Rob McIntyre and Rory McIlroy there as well. And then as we go down to the end of the top 10, we have Clark Connors, Brian Harman, Russell Henley, and Bryson DeChambeau at 9 under for the tournament. Other names I want to point out are Ricky Fowler at 8 under, Matsuyama at 7 under, Justin Rose at 7 under, and then we go down through the list. Batsia at 4 under, Westwood at 3 under, Ram at 3 under, Garcia 3 under, Busenheit 3 under, Justin Thomas finishing 3 under, Kanaya finishing 2 under, Shane Lowry finishing 2 under, Jordan Spieth finishing 2 under. Those are some of the real big names in golf there. Struggling with the conditions at Royal Portrush, just getting under par over 4 rounds can be tough enough as it is in a major, and they've done it. But as I said, Scottie Scheffler far and away the best player of the weekend and your champion golfer of the year for 2025. And now I would like to end this episode of the International Agenda by honouring the members of the 2025 class of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. This year's class in the 2025 Hall of Fame for Major League Baseball consists of 5 new members, 3 members voted on by the Baseball Writers of America Associated Press, and 2 voted on by the Classic Era Committee. So the 2 players voted on in the Classic Era Committee were Dick Allen and Dave Parker. Unfortunately, both of these players, as with most Classic Era Committee nominations, these players are posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame. Both of them early standouts in the integration of Major League Baseball. But we now look also, so before we move on, actually, we're going to go back. We're going to have a look at the Classic Era Committee. So the Classic Era Committee is a 16-person committee that requires 12 votes for players to get into the Hall of Fame. Parker was an elite defender, 3-time Gold Glover with great outfield throwing, and 2-time batting champion, Silver Slugger Award, also 940 extra base hits. Also won the World Series with the Pirates in 79 and the A's in 89. Allen, who was a 7-time All, who was one of the best power hitters of early power baseball in the 60s and 70s, retired with 351 home runs, which for the time was an outstanding record. .912 OPS through 15 seasons, a 156 OPS plus, 6th best all time among players with 5,000 plate appearances in the integration era since the 1947 season. Names ahead of him consist of only the following players: Ted Williams, Barry Bonds, Mickey Mantle, Mike Trout, and Mark McGwire. So those Classic Era committees have voted in 2 excellent players. Now we move to the modern era. We start with Wagner. We start our look at the classic players going to the modern players now, and we begin with Billy Wagner. He is on the ballot for his 10th time. Also his last year on the ballot, so if he did not get through this year, he would never ever be, or at least for a long time before any changes happen, allowed into the Hall of Fame. Basically, this is one of those moments where it's just great for him to be inducted and finally get the recognition that he deserves. He's a genuine relief pitcher, the only genuine reliever who's left-handed now in the Hall of Fame, the 8th genuine relief pitcher in the Hall of Fame, has 7 All-Star appearances, a 16-season career with 422 saves, career split between the Stros, the Phillies, the Mets, the Red Sox, and the Brave, but an elite reliever / closer for his era. Next on the ballot and inducted was CC Sabathia, a absolute elite starting pitcher of the 2000s era of baseball, left-hander as well, throwing 3,577 in 1/3 innings across 562 Major League games, and he surpassed the 200 innings threshold 8 times in a season. So he, along with Steve Carlton and Randy Johnson, the only lefties with at least 3,000 strikeouts and 250 wins. So genuine Hall of Fame career there for CC. Before we even get to his major awards, 2007 American League Cy Young Award winner with the Cleveland Reds in 2007, then moving to the New York Yankees and being the ace of their 2009 World Championship team. We come to our final member of the 2025 Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, the head of the class, one vote away from unanimous induction. We have Ichiro Suzuki, one of not just the players of his era, one of the greatest players all time. He was voted 394 ballots sent out. He had been nominated on 393 of them. Normally, I don't get upset about how many times a player gets voted on as long as they get that minimum threshold required of 75%. But Ichiro, for what he did in Japan, plus what he did when he came to America, remembering that he came to America in his mid-20s, he was already a major star in Japan when he came out, one vote away from unanimous induction. Racked up career hits of 4,367 across America and Japan, 3,089 of them in the major leagues, the other 1,278 in Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball League, AL MVP and Rookie of the Year in 2001, 10 Golden Gloves, an elite defender, an elite ball hitter, 10 All-Star teams, legend of the Seattle Mariners, finishing his career with the Miami Marlins. Ichiro, the first Japanese major leaguer elected to the Hall of Fame, and a genuine legend of baseball and a genuine legendary bloke as well. Ichiro, Sabathia, Wagner, genuine modern-day members of the Hall of Fame, and the posthumous inductions to go alongside this class of Dave Parker and Dick Allen round out what is a very strong class with both the bat, the arm, and the ball for this year. Major League Baseball, Baseball Writers of America, Classic Era Committee, congratulations on your great selections for the 2025 Hall of Fame. These are 5 well-worthy names to be put into the Hall, and the only real misstep this year was Ichiro not getting in unanimously. But again, that's not something I'm going to cry myself to sleep over. And Ichiro, the man, he even made a joke out of it in his speech as well. So that's all we have time for here on this episode of the International Agenda. Thank you all very much for listening in. As always, it's been a pleasure covering the world of international sport with you again for another fortnight. We'll be back in mid-August for a look at early NFL preseason predictions and a mid-August look at Major League Baseball stats and standings as we head towards the postseason. As always, I've been your host, Aiden Barry. Thank you very much for listening.